The rain was hammering down like the sky itself was breaking. When Caleb burst into his barn to check on a leaking roof, he didn't expect to find someone curled up in the hay, soaking, shivering, and sound asleep. A girl, no older than 20, her clothes torn, her hair plastered to her pale face. But what really stopped him cold was recognizing her from the TV. Because just an hour ago, her face had been all over the news, and now she was here, in his barn. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Caleb Harper had weathered storms before, hail that shattered windows, floods that drowned crops, even tornadoes that twisted the power lines into knots. But tonight's storm wasn't just another tantrum from the skies. It felt like a warning. His boots sloshed through ankle-deep mud as he ran toward the barn, his flashlight bobbing wildly in the black. When he pushed the doors open, the wind nearly knocked him over. A low groan echoed from the shadows. He swept the light across the stalls, expecting maybe a trapped animal. But what he saw made him stop cold. A girl curled up in the hay, drenched to the bone. Her lips were trembling, blue at the edges. She had a gash on her forehead, and she wasn't dressed for the cold, just a ripped hoodie and thin leggings. "Hey!" Caleb shouted, moving closer. "Hey, you okay?" She stirred, looked up, panic lit her eyes. "It's okay," he said gently, setting the flashlight down. "I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm Caleb. You're safe here." She didn't speak. She just looked at him like she was trying to decide whether to bolt or cry. Maybe both. He reached into his coat and pulled out a thermal blanket he kept in the barn for emergencies. "Let me help you. Please." Still silent, she took the blanket and wrapped herself in it with trembling hands. That's when it hit him. He'd seen her before, not in real life, on the news. Her name flashed into his mind. Samantha Blake. The missing girl, the daughter of a political heavyweight. Gone for 3 days. Headlines across the nation. Amber alerts. Drones. Helicopters. The FBI. Her family offering $5 million for information. And now she was here, in his barn. "Jesus," he whispered. She looked up again, her eyes glassy. "You're her, aren't you?" She didn't nod, didn't deny it either, just whispered, "Please, don't tell them I'm here." And that's when Caleb knew. Whatever had happened to her, whatever she was running from, it wasn't just a kidnapping. It was something darker, something that made her more afraid of going back than staying hidden. The barn was cold, the kind of cold that crept into your chest and made you forget how to breathe. Caleb threw more hay over the drafty corner and lit the old kerosene heater he hadn't used in years. Samantha sat silent, knees pulled to her chest, her face hidden under the blanket like it could shield her from whatever nightmare she'd come from. He brought her a mug of hot water with lemon. There wasn't much in the house, but it was something. "Here," he said, kneeling beside her. "It's not fancy, but it's warm." She hesitated. Her hands were shaking as she took it. "Thank you," she said, her voice hoarse, barely a whisper. "You didn't have to." Caleb studied her, really studied her. Samantha Blake, the same girl whose face had been plastered across every gas station TV for the past 3 days. But here, in real life, she wasn't the smiling, polished girl from the headlines. She looked wrecked and terrified. "I'm guessing you don't want me calling the sheriff," Caleb said carefully. She flinched. "No, please, don't call anyone. You know they're looking for you. They're not looking for me," she said, her voice breaking. "They're looking for a story." That stopped him. "What do you mean?" Samantha's fingers clenched the blanket tighter. "I didn't run away. I escaped." The wind howled outside. Caleb stood up and checked the latch on the barn doors as if something or someone might be coming. They said your dad's a senator, he said. Her face twisted. That's one word for him. Caleb didn't press her. Not yet. He recognized trauma when he saw it. Not from textbooks, but from the men he'd served with back in the day. People who'd been through something horrible didn't need to be interrogated. They needed space, warmth, safety. I've got an extra bed in the house, he said. You're welcome to it. She shook her head violently. No. I can't go inside. They might be watching. I just need a day. Maybe two. Please. Caleb looked at her. This half-frozen, half-broken girl who clearly didn't trust anyone and made a decision he couldn't take back. All right, he said. You can stay. But you tell me if something's chasing you, understand? She nodded, and for the first time her eyes, haunted as they were, held a flicker of trust. That night Caleb didn't sleep. He sat in the kitchen with a loaded shotgun on the table, the news playing on low volume. They were still broadcasting updates on the beloved daughter of Senator Blake, still claiming she'd been kidnapped by extremists, still offering rewards, but no one on that screen looked like they were telling the truth. Caleb narrowed his eyes at the senator's smiling face. Something about the way he said, "We just want her home," made his stomach turn. Something was very, very wrong. And tomorrow he was going to find out what. The next morning the storm had passed, but the weight in Caleb's chest hadn't. He stepped into the barn with a plate of eggs and toast. Samantha was sitting against a beam, staring blankly at the morning sun, spilling through the gaps in the boards. Her face looked calmer now, but her eyes still carried that raw, bottomless look only trauma leaves behind. She spoke first. "I was supposed to go to a gala," she said softly, not looking at him. 3 nights ago, my father's fundraiser. All those rich, fake smile people drinking $1,000 champagne and pretending they care about the world. Caleb didn't interrupt. He told me to wear the blue dress, the one that made me look controllable. That's the word he used. Controllable. She let out a bitter laugh. Not beautiful, not elegant, just useful. She picked at the toast. When I said I didn't want to go, that I was tired of being shown off like a product, he locked the doors, said I was making him look weak. Caleb clenched his fists, his jaw tight. He locked you in. He does it all the time, she whispered. When I don't behave. A long silence stretched between them. Outside the cattle were starting to stir, and the first rays of sun turned the frost on the fence posts into diamonds. I slipped the house alarm, climbed out through the wine cellar, ran barefoot down the ravine. That storm saved me, you know. I was half a mile from collapse when I saw your barn light. Caleb took a slow breath, his voice low but steady. You don't owe that man your silence, Samantha. She finally looked up. If I speak, I destroy a senator. Then maybe he deserves to be destroyed. She blinked hard. Do you know what happens to girls who expose powerful men like him? They get branded, labeled unstable, ungrateful, gold diggers, liars. He has lawyers, handlers, media consultants. I have a blanket and a plate of toast. You have the truth, Caleb said, and you're not alone anymore. A tear rolled down her cheek, but she didn't sob. It was a quiet kind of cry, like she was used to doing it alone. That night Caleb called someone he hadn't spoken to in years. His former army buddy Logan, now a private investigator in New York. I need help, Caleb said. Who's the girl? Logan asked immediately. I saw the news. Is it her? She's scared out of her mind, Caleb said. And if even half of what she's saying is true, that senator's not just abusive, he's a criminal. I'll dig, Logan said. But if you're right, this isn't gonna end quietly. I don't want quiet, Caleb said. I want justice. Back in the barn, Samantha was fast asleep again. Caleb stood in the doorway watching her breathe. The wind had died. The heater hummed softly. But the air still felt heavy, because the storm wasn't over. It had just moved inside. 2 days passed. The morning news showed search helicopters sweeping over counties far from Caleb's land. Senator Blake gave another press conference, flanked by aides, pleading into microphones with perfectly rehearsed trembles in his voice. "We believe our daughter has been taken by dangerous individuals. We urge the public to help us bring her home safely." Caleb muted the screen. Dangerous individuals? The man was spinning a narrative, and with Logan's intel dripping in piece by piece, the full picture was turning blood-chilling. Logan called that night. "You were right," he said. "This goes deeper than control." Blake's got sealed family court records going back a decade, domestic complaints from a former nanny, whispers about discipline rooms in the estate, payoffs, cover-ups. Caleb's throat went dry. "And nobody's dug this up before?" "People tried," Logan replied. "They vanished. Careers ended. One journalist. Well, no one's heard from her in 5 years." Outside, the barn lights flickered. Caleb's gaze snapped to the window. Then his phone buzzed with a message. "Black SUV on County Road 9. They're scanning mailboxes." He shot up, grabbed his coat, grabbed the shotgun. Inside the barn, Samantha was sitting cross-legged, sorting through a bundle of old postcards Caleb had left lying around. "You okay?" he asked, trying to keep his tone casual. She looked up. "You ever wish you could just be someone else?" "Every day before 7 a.m. he half smiled. She chuckled, a sound that carried some life again, but the moment didn't last. He stepped closer. "Listen, I think someone's looking for you." "Not the cops. Private. They're close." Her eyes widened. "Oh God, we'll move you." "Where?" "There's a crawl space under the old root cellar." Caleb said, "My granddad built it during the Cold War. It's safe, and we'll keep the barn looking normal." "You'd really do that for me?" she whispered. "Even knowing who I am, what might happen?" "I'm not protecting a senator's daughter," Caleb said. "I'm protecting a young woman who was brave enough to run from hell. That's who I see." For a second the room filled with silence. Then she stood and reached out. He didn't expect it, but she hugged him, fierce, desperate, grateful. "Thank you," she whispered. That night, Caleb stayed by the window with his shotgun across his lap. Around 3 a.m., headlights crept up the road. No sound, just slow movement. The SUV stopped near his mailbox. A man got out, shined a flashlight toward the barn, then toward the house. Caleb's hand tightened on the trigger. The man didn't knock, didn't ask questions. He just placed a small envelope on the porch, then drove off. Inside the envelope was a folded piece of paper. One line. "Return what's mine, or we take everything." Caleb stared at it for a long time. Then he turned and looked toward the barn. They had no idea who they were threatening, because Caleb Harper wasn't just a farmer. He'd seen war, he'd buried friends, and now he was ready to fight again. By the time the sun broke through the gray sky the next morning, Caleb had already made his decision. He poured himself a cup of black coffee, looked at the barn, and dialed Logan. "It's time," he said. "You sure?" Logan's voice came sharp, clear. "She's not running anymore," Caleb replied. "She's ready to be heard, and I'm not gonna let them bury her story." Inside the barn, Samantha sat near the heater, blanket over her lap. When Caleb told her the plan, her hands trembled. "Going public, he'll destroy me," she said. "He'll destroy you." "He already tried," Caleb replied. "Now it's our turn." She stared at him for a long moment, then gave the smallest nod. That afternoon, Logan drove down in a rusted old pickup. No plates, no GPS, no track. In the bed of the truck sat a waterproof case, with one item, a broadcast rig, satellite-linked. Secure. They set it up in the barn, simple background, no makeup, no coaching, just Samantha, raw, honest, real. The moment she sat down in front of the camera, something in her shifted. "My name is Samantha Blake," she said, "and I was never kidnapped. I was imprisoned, for years." Her voice shook, her eyes shimmered, but she didn't break. She told it all. The locked rooms, the bruises hidden by makeup,
The people paid to look the other way. The night she ran barefoot into the storm. And the man who saved her, not with money or power, but with a blanket and a plate of eggs. By sundown the video was live. Within 3 hours it had 10 million views. By midnight, Caleb's mailbox was surrounded by black SUV, but something had changed. The internet was roaring. Hashtags trended worldwide. Journalists camped out at the gate, celebrities posted in support, and behind all of it, people could see the truth. Senator Blake held a press conference the next morning, but his smirk cracked. He looked hunted. "I love my daughter," he said stiffly. "She's clearly confused." The reporter's hands shot up. "Then why are there sealed abuse allegations from 3 staff members? What about the security footage from your estate? Why is your campaign finance manager cooperating with federal agents?" The senator's face collapsed. He tried to walk off, but that was the beginning of the end. FBI agents showed up 2 days later, not to take Samantha, but to thank her. With her help they uncovered a decades-long web of bribery, intimidation, even ties to private contractors who made girls disappear. Caleb stood beside her as she watched her father's arrest on TV. She didn't cry. She didn't cheer. She just whispered, "I never thought I'd be free." "You are now," Caleb said, "and you're never going back." 3 months later, the barn was quiet again. The heater gone, the smell of hay returned. But Samantha wasn't there anymore. She was in D.C., not as a senator's daughter, but as an advocate for girls like her, speaking to schools, shelters, Congress. And Caleb, he still woke up at 5 a.m. to feed the animals, still drank bad coffee, but now he kept a new photo on the fridge. Samantha, in a navy blue blazer, standing tall, holding a microphone, and the caption below the photo, "You don't have to be born brave. You just have to choose it once."